Well, hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region, and welcome to this Free State Colorado interview. Today, I'm joined by Jon Caldara. Jon is the president of the Independence Institute, a Denver based think tank that works to enhance personal and economic freedom. Jon also hosts the Devil's Advocate interview program, writes a weekly column for the Colorado Politics, and he's frequently heard on the radio. He's also well known for his disdain of government bullies. Well, Jon, I hope you are well, and thank you for joining me today.
Glad to be with you.
Well, Jon, how long have you been politically active in Colorado?
Um, since I was a kid, my folks wanted to got involved in Littleton politics and tried to stop Bowles Avenue from being widened. And I remember that. And so, it was always in our blood.
Awesome. Were they successful at that time?
At that time, but no, not anymore. It worked. We had it's interesting growing up in Colorado. um, we talked politics a lot, but my folks never sat me down and said, son, let me explain what Hayek had to say. And, John Locke had this to say, and here's the role of government, and here's the role of free people. No, back in the 70s, growing up here, there was just this sense that you do you, I do me, and we respect each other. It was everything I learned about politics, everything I know about my political philosophy came from being raised here. It's like the love of liberty just grew out of the freaking soil, and people understood this is how you treat one another. And you could walk down the street. I remember downtown Denver, you see two guys both wearing jeans and flannels and looking kind of rugged or dirty. One of them threw trains on a oil platform. The other guy owned the oil company, and you never knew which one is which. It was it was a great place. There's a reason why Ayn Rand put Gulch in Colorado, and it has just been heartbreaking beyond words to see that state has changed into this command and control elitist progressive state. And that just breaks my heart.
Well, why do you think it's changed? What's happened? What's happened to Colorado, and why has it become so much more authoritarian?
There's several factors. The first one is just large demographic changes. When you have people fleeing from big government states, that's what happens. And overwhelmingly, if you look over the last 15 years demographically, the largest inflow has come from California. What a surprise. And then New York, and then Illinois, all big, huge, ugly states. And people might not be pro government there, but in comparison, they come here. It's kind of like when you're in the hot tub and then you jump into the regular swimming pool and you go, oh, I could turn up the temperature here. I think that's how Californians feel. The other part is how the left worked to change political culture in a very deliberate 15-year plan. People call it the blueprint, and it really is it made a difference. Let me make this statement. One of the reasons we have lost Colorado is our donors, and that sounds awful, but let me do this through. The left's donors used a very different system that the right's donors still haven't quite figured out. The left built capacities. I talked to both of the guys who wrote the book, The Blueprint. Each one mentioned that the people they interviewed on the left all said, well, we look at Independence Institute and know if we could grow that out, add 2 zeros to the budgets and wait, we'll get everything we wanted. What they wanted was gay marriage. They wanted something very specific. The right, at the same time, over these last 15 years, continues to play politics like it's 1980. That is, we throw money at candidates. Those candidates maybe win, maybe they don't. They rent offices, they rent phones, they rent computers, they rent databases, and they rent people, maybe for 3 months, maybe for 6 months. And then after the election, it all comes crashing down. The left keeps those people hired, keeps those offices open and build and build and build. And so they're not there to wrap themselves around a personality. They're there to wrap themselves around a principle. So the four rich guys who wanted gay marriage put hundreds of millions of dollars not into candidates, not into a political party, but into things that we do: media, investigative reporting, lawsuits, voter outreach, think tank work, policy work, recruitment. And they got what they wanted. They also started out with a goal. We want this policy. I found that a lot of conservative donors don't know exactly what they want. They know what they're against, they don't know what they're for. And what I mean by that is it's kind of a pornography question. What exactly do you want? And the answer is, I know it when I see it. Whereas the left was like, we want gay marriage. And then the anti-fossil fuels folks said, all right, we'll help you with that, but you have to help kill fossil fuels. And they said, fine. And the teachers union said, all right, fine, but you're going to have to help us stop choice and hurt charters. Okay, come on in. All these things are very specific policies. The right likes personalities because you can pick up a phone and talk to the governor, you can talk to the senator, you can talk to people and hobnob with them and tell them what you think. And that's great. And Tabor can't call you back. You know, it's not like you pick up the phone, I want to call the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, I want to call gay marriage. It's not the same. And so you ask why we've changed demographics, because the right hasn't learned the lesson on how to invest in capacities the full way and to have the patience to let those capacities build. Even today, we see that, a lot of well-meaning, good people put a lot of money behind candidates and initiatives that may or may not make a sizable difference compared to the left that invested in political culture. That was a long-winded answer to your question.
It's a great answer, John, and I couldn't agree more. I think the political infrastructure, these organizational pushes that the left has made over the past 10, 20 years have really paid off for them in so many ways. Like you said, it's candidates come and go. People can't even remember a few cycles ago who was running for Senate, who was running for Congress, maybe even who was running for governor. But these organizations still exist and they remember and they keep track of voting records. They keep track of media, little sound bites and newspaper clippings. And then they can use that information to build a narrative, to build a story over years, to build
What a great
that.
point. You think about something like as awful as the Colorado Times Recorder, which is one of their leftist news outlets. Their job is to beat up conservatives. And anytime any conservative says anything, they put it down, and there it's stored as a news article. And then if that guy ever runs for office, they pull out all this stuff. He said this. Mind you, he could have said it 15 years ago before you had to call her him and him her, and he said the wrong thing. Now he's a bigot. And that's long-term planning. That's using your money wisely. The right just doesn't have the patience for that.
Right. They don't have the patience and they don't have the understanding maybe either. I see so many people on the right focus on political parties. It's all about the party. It's all about the party. Where on the left, sure, they have the party, whatever, but they know the locus of power exists outside of the party. When you're talking unlimited donations, dark money spending, hiding donors and moving that money around, the left has really figured out that they can use, nonprofits and political committees to have a bigger impact than
Oh,
anything any political party can do.
the right has learned that too. I mean, and I strongly support people being able to use their money without being tracked. The difference is what you invest in. In the conservative world, consultants make a lot of money, and we don't have many wins. In the left, they keep putting money into community organizing and investigative reporting and all these things that have nothing to do with the party, but they waited and it took a decade. It took a decade and a half, and now they're winning everything they wanted and more. I mean, it really is a testament to using your money wisely. And what's odd is a lot of conservatives understand that when it comes to their private business. No, it's not going to make a profit for the first 10 years, but after that, it's going to be great. They understand it when they donate money to one of their passion products or projects. They want to start a church or build a wing on a hospital or get a building on their alma mater. and they're thinking ahead. They're thinking, these are kids are going to be learning in that school. These are people who are going to be living because of the hospital and getting services and being part of the community in the church, and it connects them to the future. But when they give money to politics, they give it as if they're writing their car insurance payment. There's no joy. It's an expense. It's a transaction. I'll give you money, Mr. Consultant, and then you deliver me a win this fall on X issue, X person, X whatever it is. Um, my failure over the many years I've done this is to be able to go into rich people's minds and switch that wire and have them think that that next dollar, that next marginal dollar that they spend, if it's an investment, wait a minute, am I going to give it to this candidate? Am I going to give it to this consultant? What's the interest? What grows afterwards? Or do I give it to groups like Independence Institute or even Colorado Union of Taxpayers or the Tabor Foundation or other groups that do things that build on one another, and over time the machine gets bigger? And if donors change that viewpoint, we win back Colorado. It's just that simple. Mind you, it's going to take a decade, but it would be inevitable.
Right. And you also brought up earlier kind of these single issue advocacy groups. And that's something I think the right can do a little bit better as well. You have on the left, the pro abortion, the pro immigration, the anti gun, the anti environment, the pro gay marriage group back in the day, all these different groups focusing on single issues, not really diluting their message, but coordinating because these political action committees or C4s, whatever they are, they can all coordinate for a candidate for an issue or coordinate behind the scenes and kind of move some of that money around and only talk to their donors, only talk to their volunteers and the people that care about that one single issue without having to get into other types of things that maybe they don't necessarily, those supporters don't necessarily agree with. And I think that's an interesting dynamic as well out there, seeing kind of this whole blueprint. We have Progress Now, of course, kind of this octopus organization that kind of ties in all of these different groups out there on the left and finds the people here who agree with this issue, the people here, and then gets them to all coordinate whether they know they're doing it or not.
We also recruit people. One of the things that we do at Independence that I think is crucial is our citizens involvement project. Kathleen Chandler does this, and she helps get people on boards and commissions throughout the state. And we've helped get 400 people on these boards and commissions. These are not elected positions, but they get people involved, get them close to the local government where most government is, most socialism is, and it gives them an inside look. Many of them take to it and want to run for city council and then maybe county commissioner or state legislator after that. And we always ask, why is it we have such bad candidates? Because we don't invest in building a pipeline, a funnel of people coming in who over time get involved and not just running for office, but becoming citizen activists, citizen reporters, recruiters of their own. Instead, we just go to cocktail parties and bitch about Colorado, and the left fills these out. I mean, think about it. My hometown of Boulder has 25 different boards and commissions just for the city. There's the zoning commission, the library board, the liquor board, the arts board, the transportation advisory committee. Each one has 5 people on it. And the folks who like to control other people's lives, well, they're happy to get on there. There was an energy advisement committee in Greeley, home of fracking and oil and gas industries. And they moved forward to the city council a complete fracking ban. Think of that. So getting involved in local government makes a huge difference. And that's why people need to get involved. And if you're interested, talk to Kathleen Chandler at our Citizens Involvement Project over at Independence. Just go to thinkfreedom.org, thinkfreedom.org. It's also a lot of fun.
No, that's a great point as well. That's a conversation I've been hearing a lot this year, going to different campaign events, is people are asking, who's going to be the next governor candidate from the Republican side? Who's going to be the next candidate for a state Senate district or U.S. Senate or U.S. Congress? And it seems the
Who
bench
the
is very
hell,
thin.
who the hell cares? That doesn't matter. How about this? Who's going to run on my city council to promote independence, liberty, property rights, lower taxation? Who's going to run in our school board to get the woke agenda out of there and bring power back to parents? How am I going to, when you ask those questions, those other questions take care of themselves. That gets taken care of. And we need to break this down. We need to break down politics and freedom to the smallest level possible and focus on that. Imagine instead of 400 people that independence has helped get on boards and commissions, imagine if it was 4,000. Imagine if it was 40,000. Imagine what would happen at the state legislature 8 to 10 years after that. Success will be inevitable, but the problem is conservatives in Colorado don't want to invest that long to see an outcome, and they get too excited by personality. I mean, good God, all we do is talk about Trump instead of talking about what's going on our city block. And when we do that, we play right into their hands, and that's why we've lost this state.
Well, that's such a great point too, because I see it so much where people get burnt out on the political scene, because they do get involved or attached to a personality or some big national race, and they think it's going to change the world. This one election is just going to change everything and restore American values, and it'll all be good from then on out. And unfortunately, that's not the reality. But
They
once you get
also they also
involved,
make this terrible mistake that they believe what politicians say. And there are so many great politicians who will tell you exactly what you want to hear. You always get what you want to hear. And then they go down into the Capitol and they do pretty much the opposite. I've seen it over and over and over again. We see it when it comes to the other side. Everybody looks at Governor Polis and go, wait a second, he says he's business friendly, but he destroys businesses. He says he's a libertarian, but he takes away our guns and puts in minimum wage laws. You can judge people by their actions. If you build the infrastructure, it doesn't matter who's in charge. They will have to answer to that infrastructure. They will have to answer to that vice. There really needs to be a vice built for politicians. Keep in mind that politicians are largely expedient. When you build this infrastructure, what you end up doing is creating a vice. And politicians are pretty expedient creatures. They might be great people, they might know right from wrong, but there are three pressures that they have to answer to. One is the press. The next one are the special interests, their donors, and all the other folks, and then their constituents. Well, when you start becoming the press, when you start being one of the special interests, you mentioned all these organizations that the left has, and we should have something like that for people who love freedom and communication from voters. You know what happens? You put a politician in that vice and they shoot out and do the right thing. Right now, that vice is created by the left. We shouldn't be surprised that the state is turning communist.
Yeah, it's a great answer, and it's a good detail there in terms of this transformation that we've seen here in Colorado over the years. Getting back to local politics, I think one of the primary things that people can really feel empowered by is you show up to one city council meeting, you're better informed than 90% of the people in your town. You know what I mean? 90% of the people in your city. You show up and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, they're going to redo this road and they're going to try and get eminent domain for this property and they're going to put this on the ballot. Oh my gosh, why is anybody talking about this? Well, it's because nobody goes. Nobody goes to these city council meetings. Nobody shows up for these board or commission hearings. And then all of a sudden people get blindsided at the election. And where'd this tax increase come from? Why do they need this extra money? They had enough money last year, and people sometimes give the benefit of the doubt to these political organizations, especially if it's like a fire or sanitation district or a school district, and say, hey, let's go ahead and give them some more money. Let's increase this mill amount. It's not too much. And then 5-10 years later, why are our property taxes so high? Because we've been increasing that mill levy every year for the past decade. And it really starts at that local level where people can have an impact. I think one of the yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, here's an easy first step. All right, you don't want to join a board or commission. You turn on whatever local municipal channel carries your city council or school board meeting. It will be boring as hell. They'll be talking in things you don't understand. Just keep it on in the background. Keep it on in the background, and after a while, you'll realize these people are morons. not only are they morons, but they want to take away our freedom and our money. And you end up knowing more. Now, when it gets to a city council, usually the issue is already done. It's kind of like when a issue gets to the floor of the House or Senate here in Colorado, it's been cooked. Earlier on when they have their study sessions and public participation and community outreach and all this other stuff that only the left shows up for, that's what puts things in order, and off it goes. When I was on the RTD board a million years ago, um, Denver Channel 8 approached us about putting our board meetings on the municipal channel. I was like, hot damn, absolutely. Those who wanted to grow the empire that is RTD voted it down because they knew if people saw how dysfunctional and stupid the RTD board was, they would never pass a tax increase. So, put Netflix aside one night a week and just put on your local government and just force yourself to listen. You don't have to watch necessarily. You'll get a good idea what goes on.
Right. Right. Yeah. Here, definitely echo that sentiment. I think that involvement at local level is what we need. And like you said, the other problems will eventually solve themselves because people get plugged in, they start to understand what's going on, they understand all the different players involved in this process, and they become more informed and more powerful. And all of a sudden they realize what kind of an impact they can have at the state level, at the county level, at the city level. But yeah, it just starts with showing up, opening your ears and seeing what's going on.
A libertarian, large L libertarian, not a small L like me, uh, went on one of these boards and commissions and hated it, just hated it, and couldn't do anything. And then he tried again a couple years later, and he went to I forget what city it was. Said, "Hey, where do you need me? I'd like to give back." And I said, "Well, we have a position open on the historic board." And this time, instead of being, a libertarian who was going to tell everybody, what right from wrong, he just sat back and absorbed it all. And then one day came the proposal that had to go through their committee to take like 1,000 homes and put it into a historic district, which meant you wouldn't be able to do anything to your house. It is a huge property takings. And he said, I understand we want to keep these homes in this neighborhood and the charm, but let's think this one through. And he argued persuasively that this was a huge taking, and the historic board voted it down.
Wow.
Now, we're not going to stop the presses. Nobody knows about that victory, but that guy went home that night and just said, people in this neighborhood, you have property rights because I got involved. Otherwise, you'd be forced into this district and you wouldn't be able to do a thing with your own property.
Wow. That's a great story. That's a great story. You talked a little bit about the local government initiative there at the Independence Institute. What are some of the other projects that the Independence Institute is engaged in?
Well, we're all battling alcoholism, but we do that proudly. We really have a couple different legs. We are a public relations firm, might be the best way to think about us. And our customer isn't Coca-Cola, it's liberty, it's limited government, it's personal and economic freedom in the state of Colorado. And we need to reach out to people who are politically tuned in, and we do that through our YouTube channel, through our radio shows, through our columns, through the television show we have on Channel 12 Friday nights at 8:30. But better yet, go to YouTube and look for IITV, Independence Institute Television, IITV, watch Devil's Advocate. We have a podcast now solely devoted to energy issues in Colorado, which is the biggest issue in Colorado. So we do the issue papers and the rest, but really we're a communications shop. And then we're also a recruitment shop. That is, we try to get people involved and connected. We do that through our internship program. We've graduated, oh my God, 180 people through our internship program. We call it our Future Leaders program because the intern exploitation program didn't have the right ring to it. And over half of the people who have gone through it stay on in public policy. Some run for office, some work in different organizations. We were part of a lawsuit I think in Douglas County, was a free speech issue. And we partnered with the Center for Competitive Politics, a DC pro bono legal firm. And one of our lawyers was one of our former interns. And it's like, circle of life. And then, of course, we get involved in direct political change. That is, we do lawsuits, we do amicus briefs, we put things on the ballot, we will weigh in on issues, we'll hack off a lot of people because we're not beholden to any one industry or one donor. And for nearly 40 years, Independence Institute has helped first shape the politics of Colorado and now trying to keep those politics and those policies alive. If not for independence, we wouldn't have our charter schools in Colorado. We were the first or second state in the union to get charters. Now, 15% of all school kids are in a charter school. Wouldn't happen without us. The Taxpayer Bill of Rights wouldn't become reality without us. Term limits would not happen without us. Privatization of services, half of RTD is contracted out. Concealed carry permits, takings issues. We've been there to get these things done. And now the left is having their turn, promoting collectivism and mandating it. And that's why we need to change what we do, we as a freedom movement and people in Colorado, and retool if we're going to win this battle. I believe Colorado is worth saving. Colorado can become that place I grew up in, where you grow up and the culture teaches you about liberty, it teaches you about freedom.
Well, that's great. Yeah, very, very inspirational. Really exciting. I wasn't aware that the Independence Institute was so involved over the last nearly 40 years on such important issues here in Colorado. I mean, it's definitely helped make Colorado the state it is today. And I'm saying that in a good way, of course. The pro-freedom, pro-liberty type of policies that have been enacted, and just building that culture of independent-minded people. So
The
that is awesome.
permanency, the permanency is important. We own a building just blocks away from the Capitol. We call it our Freedom Embassy, where freedom is safe there. But really, it's the first place that is a brick and mortar structure dedicated to limited government. The reason we did this, we took a map of the Denver metro area, drew a circle walking distance around the Capitol, and we started putting pins where the left has actual buildings, actual offices, places to meet and to do coalition work and to talk to people. Of course, the CEA, the Education Association, was right across the street. And then you have the SCIU over here and the AFL-CIO over there. You've got Progress Now over there and Environment Colorado here, the School Board Association there, the trial lawyers over here. And we just put in pins all over. And when we finished, you look at the map and it looked like the Capitol was a castle under siege. And I said, well, there's got to be some right-leaning group that's permanent there. And the small business group, the NFIB, did in fact have one office with two desks. They don't even have that anymore. And so it was a mission of ours to get a foothold, to have something down there. And it's no wonder why we send good politicians to the legislature and they turn left over time. It's kind of like sending your kid to Berkeley. These people are surrounded 24/7 by the Takings Coalition, who wines and dines and educates them, and they think that's reality. The kid at Berkeley or CU Boulder thinks that's reality. So we need to build that infrastructure, and our Freedom Embassy is Omaha Beach in that effort.
Oh, I love it. What great analogy there. Well, John, I know you're also well known for throwing great parties, and you have one coming up. Tell us about this politically incorrect bash.
This started as a complete yuck. It was like they saw the growth of the nannyism. They wanted to take away our cigarettes, and they wanted to take away this and that. And I was like, well, screw them. Let's have a party. We'll call it our alcohol, tobacco, and firearms party, and we'll smoke and we'll drink and we'll shoot, and they won't know how to handle it. And so first started like 23 years ago now, our first alcohol, tobacco, and firearms party, where we quite literally um, drink, smoke, and shoot. Sadly, not in that order because lawyers. And we go to the Kiowa Creek Sporting Club, which is out on I-70. It's this beautiful shotgun course. And we do a round of shotgun, and then we all hunker down and smoke some great cigars, listen to a speaker. This year it's going to be Michael Brown from KHOW. And we drink. We drink like adults. And we do this because we want to, one, celebrate the perks of adulthood while we still can. And two, we like bothering the nanniest. And they don't realize one year we had some reporters out. I'm trying to remember. Um, and they were like, "Oh my God, there's guns everywhere here. They're everyone's got guns." And we're like, "Uh-huh." And it was really great. Westward did a terrific story one year. They had a guy come out and do a full feature. And the headline was, "Since when do conservatives have fun?" And I forget the writer. He was a sports writer who wrote it up. He said, "I remember going to college. I did drugs. I got laid. We had so much fun. And now I'm an adult and a progressive, and we're not allowed to do anything. These guys are getting drunk and playing with guns and smoking cigars. What happened?" And it's our biggest fundraiser of the year, and it's a nice little party, and we know that people hate it, which makes it more fun.
Awesome. That does sound like a lot of fun. When is it this year?
I believe it is September 14th. He
Perfect.
checks notes, and you can go to thinkfreedom.org. Just thinkfreedom.org. Check notes, because I'm the kind of guy that would actually tell you the wrong date. It's the 14th. I was right.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, I've been there. I think 2 years ago was the first time I went, and it definitely was a lot of fun. It's great to be around other liberty-minded individuals. Share a drink, smoke a cigar. Kiowa is absolutely beautiful. Such a gorgeous place to
Remember,
spend
this is
a Saturday afternoon.
make clear, it's not Kiowa County. It's just the name of the place called Kiowa Creek. It's still a little bit out east. We also invite people to keep their score for their shotgun course, and we kill a lot of clay pigeons. And the best and worst shooters get recognized, and that's we love the we like recognizing the worst, because it's something the left would never do.
Well, John, I really appreciate your time today. It was a lot of fun talking to you. I really appreciate your expertise and sharing so much of your knowledge about Colorado politics and really providing a roadmap for people to right the ship and to change course. And I hope that the donors out there heed your words and that we can make a difference here and restore some of this freedom to Colorado.
Let me put out just a couple of asks, which is on Twitter, now X. Please follow me at Jon Caldara. No H in John, no E in Caldara. Check out Independence Institute. Follow us on social media. Download and listen to Devil's Advocate, the podcast, or Freedom Unaffiliated, our podcasts, all dealing with Colorado issues. It's really fun and light. And Energy Gab, which is our podcast, video cast on IITV, and you can get it on all the regular podcast stations. But please, it's easy to get involved, or at the very least, go to our website, sign up for our newsletter so you know what's coming out, you know the reports we're doing, you know what activities are going on. We don't spam you, but we just want to keep people involved. And I think that's the best way for us to do it. And I want to first thank you, Brandon, one, for having me do this during a Bronco game. Because good God, I did not want to watch that. So you did me a solid. But also, Free State Colorado is just a great podcast. It's a great thing you do, and that you focus in on local issues as well as state issues. And there is no more local coverage. Complete Colorado, our news service, does that, and please go to completecolorado.com every day. But we can't be everywhere, and that's why communicators and influencers like you play a big, big role in saving Colorado. Don't move.
I'll not move.
Don't become a
I'm
refugee and run to Texas now. We
oh
need.
no, no chance. I tell people every day you got to stand and fight. You're gonna have to fight somewhere, no matter where you go. They're doing the same thing in South Dakota. They're trying to do the same thing in Texas, even Florida. No matter where you go, you're gonna have to fight. So fight where you're strongest. Fight where you can win. Fight here in Colorado.
Also, why is it that the communists always come to the most beautiful places? They Go find some desert compound and start being a communist there instead of taking away our property rights here in the most beautiful state in the world. Anyway, thank you for having me. This has been a kick.
Awesome. Appreciate it, John. Thank you very much and take care.